How many times have you opened the fridge without being hungry? Just opened it, without really knowing what you were looking for, without even remembering exactly why you got up and walked over. It's an automatic gesture. Hand on the handle, the door swings open. The light turns on. You stare. Nothing looks interesting. You close it. Walk away. Then, after a while, you do it again. Sometimes more than once in the same day. But what are we really looking for when we do that? Maybe it's not food. Maybe it's a pause or a distraction. Maybe it's an unconscious way of dealing with boredom, anxiety, loneliness, with a feeling that doesn't even have a name yet. Because the fridge, cold, lit up, quiet, has become a kind of escape, a mini refuge in the middle of the chaos. Opening the fridge without hunger isn't about feeding the stomach. It's about trying to fill what feels empty inside. And that's when it all starts to make a little more sense. Opening the fridge without being hungry isn't about food, or at least not just about food. It's about what's going on inside us when the outside world feels a little off. As kids, the fridge was a place of instant pleasure, a drawer full of sweet fruit, our favorite yogurt, dessert saved for later. We grew up associating that space with comfort, reward, care, and that emotional memory doesn't just disappear with time, it evolves. Now, when we open the fridge in silence, alone, not hungry, maybe we're trying to recapture a bit of that feeling, that something will make us feel better, that maybe there's an answer in there, even if the question isn't clear. And there's more. In a fast-paced society where everything demands decisions, movement, productivity, opening the fridge is one of the few things we do without pressure, without immediate consequence, without having to justify it. It's a microspace of neutrality in the middle of an overwhelming world. It's like a pause button no one notices. Psychologically, this gesture has a name. It's a form of emotional regulation, a way the body finds to create a small break in the flow of anxiety. The opening and closing of the door, the cool air, the white light, the hum of the motor, all of it forms a near meditative ritual, even if we don't realize it. And it's fascinating to think that the fridge, a tool created to preserve food, has also become a place where we store absences, because many times what we're looking for in there isn't in containers or wrappers. It's in what's missing. Opening the fridge without hunger is, more often than not, just an attempt to feel a little less lost. And maybe recognizing that is the first step towards seeing this gesture with new eyes. Our relationship with the fridge begins long before we understand what real hunger is. As children, opening the fridge has a touch of magic. That's where the cold juice waits after playing outside, where the hidden snack lives, where the food made especially for us is kept. It's a space of reward but also of care, sometimes of affection, sometimes even of unspoken love. This gesture repeats day after day until it becomes automatic. But what looks like routine is actually an emotional construction. Over time, we learn that the fridge isn't just for satisfying hunger. It's also for calming the heart, filling time, offering some sense of control in a world that feels out of control. In adolescence, this gesture gains another layer. It becomes a refuge from indecision. The opening and closing of the door without taking anything mirrors what's going on inside. We don't know what we want, only that we want something. And sometimes it's right there, in front of that white light, that we try to figure out what it is. In adulthood, the fridge becomes a kind of safe space that doesn't judge. It doesn't ask if you're okay. It doesn't demand answers. It's just there, still available. A pause point in the middle of the rush. A place where no one expects you to be strong, productive, or put together. And when life gets heavy, when the outside world asks more than we have to give, that's where the body goes. Not out of hunger, but in search of something more subtle. A moment of control, a bit of predictability, a reflection of something we lost during the day, the week, or in our own thoughts. In moments of stress, anxiety, loneliness, the brain looks for quick relief, and because it's learned from earlier times that the fridge once offered some kind of comfort, it goes back. Even if there's nothing new inside, even if you looked 5 minutes ago. The truth is, for many, opening the fridge has become an unconscious way of coping with emotions, a silent ritual that happens in the space between one feeling and the next, between emptiness and the desire to feel nothing at all. Because sometimes opening the fridge isn't about finding something to eat. It's about reminding yourself that something can still be found. This simple, seemingly pointless gesture holds an emotional story built slowly, in layers. And understanding that story might help us see that what's missing in the fridge often isn't food. It's connection, pause, being heard, presence. Opening the fridge without being hungry is a quiet gesture that carries questions we haven't asked, and answers we might not yet know how to give. What this habit reveals is that often the hunger we feel isn't in the body, it's in the soul. It's a hunger for calm, for lightness, for comfort, for real presence in a world where everything moves fast, where we're constantly pushed to keep going, to produce, to handle everything without pause. And the fridge ends up becoming the opposite of all that. A moment where everything stops. There's no pressure, no noise, no one waiting on an answer from you. There's just light, cool air, and silence. This gesture also reveals a constant attempt to reconnect with something that gives meaning. In a time when distraction is constant and mental exhaustion has become routine, it's natural that we seek micro-moments of control. The fridge offers that. A simple, limited, safe decision. It's as if it says, "Here, you get to choose." And as small as that might seem, there's something powerful in that idea. In a world demanding giant decisions, we look for comfort in the small ones. Another important reflection is on emptiness. Not the fridge's, ours. Often, when we're restless, anxious, or even sad, we look for something to fill the space. Food, social media, work, conversation, anything to keep us from sitting with the discomfort of looking inward. Opening the fridge without hunger is that too. A way to avoid inner silence. It's like saying, "I don't want to feel this right now. Maybe there's something here that can distract me," even when we already know there isn't. This behavior also challenges the idea that humans are fully rational beings. We act based on emotional memory, on impulse, on vague sensations. And that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of being human. So the real question isn't just, why do we open the fridge when we're not hungry? But rather, what's missing inside us when we do it? Is it boredom? Is it loneliness? Is it the lack of a pause? Is it a kind of anxiety we haven't yet learned to name? Or is it simply the absence of a true moment of presence? This everyday action becomes then a mirror for how we're dealing with time, with emotions, and with our own inner listening. And maybe the most important thing isn't to change the habit right away, but to start using it as an emotional thermometer, a sign, a reminder. If I'm opening the fridge without hunger, what am I really needing right now? That question may seem simple, but it opens the door to something much greater, a more honest and compassionate way of listening to yourself. Maybe the first thing we need to do isn't to close the fridge, but to open our eyes, to understand that this small automatic gesture isn't a lack of focus or just a habit. It's a reflection, a request, an attempt to find ourselves even without knowing where to look. It's not about fixing a habit, but recognizing what it represents. The fridge isn't the problem. It's simply showing us that something needs attention. So instead of trying to force this behavior to stop, the approach can be more gentle. Use the moment as an invitation. Next time you open the fridge without being hungry, don't blame yourself. Pause for a moment and ask honestly, what am I really looking for? Am I tired? Am I trying to avoid something? Am I longing to feel something I don't know how to find? That question alone changes everything, because it shifts the focus away from the fridge and puts it back on you. It gives you back the right to listen to yourself. Another possible path is to create small rituals of presence throughout the day. They don't need to be big. A real pause to breathe, a walk without headphones, a cup of tea made slowly, a quiet moment looking out the window. Simple things that help replace impulsive searching with conscious choosing, because sometimes what we're looking for in the fridge is just a moment of pause, and that moment can exist elsewhere. It's also worth saying, we can learn to sit with emptiness without rushing to fill it. We're so used to escaping discomfort, uncertainty, absence that we forget. Emptiness has something to teach. Not every hole needs to be filled with food, with noise, with busyness. Sometimes it just needs to be observed gently. And maybe that leads us to the most important idea of all, to create space to feel, even if you don't know how to name what you're feeling. Not to fix everything at once, not to shut the fridge and swear you'll never open it again without reason, but to recognize that moment as part of who you are and use it as a reminder that something inside you is asking for care. The solution, then, isn't in control. It's in listening. It's in turning that automatic gesture into a point of awareness. Because in the end, opening the fridge without hunger is just the body saying, hey, there's something in here you haven't looked at yet. And maybe truly looking, calmly, without rushing, is already the beginning of everything.